you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. We will, first of all, thank each and every one of you once again for the allowance of this transmission through this particular gateway at this time. Once again, each and every time such a communication is allowed and such a communication is created, it affords our civilization an opportunity to experience through each and every one of you that many more ways that the infinite has of expressing itself within creation, and this expands our understanding of the infinite, and so we thank you for this gift. We are aware that this day of your time, we will commence with a slightly different format, and as such, we will extend to you our appreciation for the co-creation of this particular transmission and communication, and we invite you to simply proceed in whatever way, shape, or form you so desire with this dialogue. Yes, good day.
Hello,
Perfect, and you?
I'm fine.
All right.
I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Miranda.
All right, if you say so.
And I have the honor of having you on my show. It's Miranda's Mysterious Universe.
All right, we understand the context.
Okay, I have great respect for what you do. And I want to give you the opportunity to speak from wherever you feel that you need whatever information. However, I have a few questions. My show is on extraterrestrial mothers, and I understand you can identify the hybrid mothers.
From time to time,
okay,
we will have communication and conversation with individuals who may be having such experiences, yes.
Okay, may I ask you, myself, I have had a lot of experiences. I don't know if I need to tell you about myself. You probably can
we can, in many cases, simply scan the frequencies that we are perceiving in the communication, and we can, as you say, go from there.
Okay.
You can simply, if you wish, proceed directly to whatever question you deem to be appropriate.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to ask you, continuing the context of my show on hybrid mothers and identifying them.
Yes.
I had an experience at one time in my life, and I had a possibility that I had experienced being a hybrid mother.
Yes.
And I want to know if that is true,
yes.
if that has happened.
Yes.
Could you elaborate?
Yes.
Thank you.
The idea simply is that, of course, like many such individuals, you have had many such experiences. In fact, the contact will usually begin in childhood and even sometimes prior to birth, with the preparation of what you would call the fetus, the adjustments of the energy, the adjustments of genetics, and so forth, that will allow there to be a representation of the agreement that your soul, your spirit made with regard to your eventual participation in this agenda in your physical life. And so in that context, you have had many such experiences, especially once you became of what you would call childbearing age. Thus, then, there have been many such occasions wherein your genetic material, along with other individuals' genetic material, was utilized for the purpose of the creation of hybrid beings, many of whom are still in the stage that you would call children.
Thank you very much. Do you have any information on the particular child or children that I have that you wish to
There is
share?
some. Do you have specific questions about them, or would you simply allow us in that sense to proceed?
I'll allow you to proceed.
All right. One moment. We are perceiving, in connection with your particular energy, between 5 to 10 major connective children. Now, we say major connective children, and this refers to the idea that, of course, when the extraterrestrial species that your people refer to as the Greys, for these are the main species involved in the hybridization, when this species utilizes your genetic material or anyone's genetic material, there may be varying degrees of your original genetic material that wind up in any given hybrid child. You follow me so far?
Yes, I do.
Therefore, those that would encompass above 50% of your DNA will be within this initial group of what we are calling 5 to 10 children. There may be many others that may have fragments of your genetic material, but we will not necessarily immediately consider them to be yours since they are below 50%. Do you understand?
Below 50%.
of your genetic material.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Therefore, these 5 to 10 represent in general those that have the closest genetic bond to you in terms of the utilization of your genetic material in their creation.
Is there anything in particular why they chose to have so many kids with me?
This is an average amount.
It is?
Yes.
Okay. Do they plan for me to ever have human children, or just?
They have no say in the idea of whether you decide to have human children. That is not part of their agenda. It is part of yours if you wish, but that is up to you.
Okay.
They are only concerned with the creation of the hybrids which will allow for the continuation of their own species.
Will I have a chance to meet any of them?
The children?
Yes.
Yes. In and around, generally speaking, your years of 2005 to, again, 2013 as a window, you will find that there will be more and more opportunities for the genetic mothers to begin to interact more blatantly and eventually on the earth itself with many of these children. As in the future, the near future, as you call time, many of these children will eventually take up residence upon your own planet with the mothers. Yes?
Do we have to interact with them? I mean, physically be around them? I mean, they'll be here. We will make contact with them. In other words, live with them, or?
Yes. There will be opportunity at first for the, as you would say, acclimatization of these children into your reality, and as such, they, of course, will require parental guidance and support. And thus, in a sense, it will be an ongoing living situation. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much for that. I would like to ask a little more questions.
Yes.
What advice would you give me as far as insight as to, I'm trying to educate the public with my show. Things have been absolutely fantastic.
All right, then there really is no advice that we can give to anyone who is undertaking an endeavor of creativity other than to stress that it is always of maximum and paramount importance to always act upon your highest creative excitement and joy. For it is that energy that is representative of the frequency of your true core self. And if you always are willing to take action in the direction of the thing that excites you the most and express yourself in the most creative way you can imagine, then you will be fully aligned with your self-chosen purpose, your so-called missions and goals, because you will be being yourself. And by being yourself, that is how you serve others best, because then by being yourself, whatever it is you are inspired to do will be automatically what others will need you to do that will be of service to them. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
That's all there is to it.
Thank you very much for that. And one last question
Yes.
I appreciate. How will the environment be prepared for the hybrid? How will we be introduced to the children? Will there be a major announcement? Will there be...
Usually not. There will be a time when this will be appropriate, but at first you will find that there will simply be, more often than not, though there will be some exceptions, a few exceptions, there will be isolated areas that individuals on your planet will suddenly simply find themselves being attracted to move to. And in moving to those isolated areas, they will find that it will be the correct environment for the slow introduction of the hybrid child, safe from the majority of civilization until such time as full acclimatization can take place. This will be one of the strongest methodologies.
Thank you. Can you describe some of their physical attributes or their appearances? What do they look like? How are they...
Again, it will depend upon the amount of human genetic material that may have been utilized in the creation of any given hybrid. Some of them will, in your terms, look more human. Some of them will look less human in that sense. But generally speaking, since our race also is representative of a hybridization, it will be, in general, similar to the appearance that we have, which is relatively slender and frail compared to humans of average, the idea of 4 to 5 feet of your height, whitish-gray skin coloration, like unto what you would call your paper, larger eyes than human eyes, slightly larger heads than human heads. But in that sense, we would deem that most of you would find them, while at first perhaps a little bit shocking and unusual, relatively cute. At least by what we understand human standards to be.
That is wonderful. Bashar, may I ask another question?
That was a question.
Okay.
Do you want to ask another one again?
Yes, I do.
All right. You do not have to ask if you can ask.
Okay, well, thank you. You're very nice. What is the ultimate goal for this hap of the gods, if you would? for having
Gods.
whoever they are.
Are you talking about the extraterrestrial species involved in the hybridization?
Actually, the question is, I want to know what is the ultimate goal of the Creator in doing this? Is this going against our will?
The Creator has no goal except to be itself. That is the only goal the Creator has. Were the Creator to have any other goal other than to simply be itself in all the ways that it can, this would put too much of a restriction on creation. There can be no restriction on creation. It must be open-ended and infinite, or it cannot be truly creation. Thus, the idea of the Creator is that the Creator does not have unto itself a goal except to experience itself in all the ways that it possibly can, which means all the beings of every type, everywhere and every when that exist within creation are aspects of the Creator, experiencing itself, expressing itself in all ways that it can from all perspectives, and in essence, interacting with itself in all manners possible. The only goal of the Creator is to experience itself as creation. There is no ultimate goal other than that, because it is simply its nature, and the only goal it has is to simply express its nature. Do you follow that?
Yes, I do. I appreciate your explanation.
Thus then, it is not that any one thing goes against the grain, or so-called with the grain of the Creator. Yes, there are things that might be mechanically destructive. There might be things that are mechanically constructive. You can understand that there is a flow that represents going with the grain, so to speak, that there is a flow that in some senses represents going against the grain, so to speak, but it is not against the will. It is simply that there are some things that are more efficient than others, some things that are more representative of holism than others, some things that are more representative of segregation than others. The ultimate idea, therefore, is for every species and every individual, everywhere and everywhen, to decide for themselves whether or not they wish to function on a more holistic and therefore more creation representative level, or a more segregational and therefore, in a sense, a more destructive representation level. But that is up to each and every individual. Do you follow?
Yes, I do. And what is the health of these children, and what is their diet? What do they enjoy eating when they come to this planet?
At first, in the initial stages of the hybridization, the health was not that good, until certain adjustments were made. Now, more and more and more of them are, in your terms, healthy. There will be a very light diet, as it will be mostly in liquid form, what you would call the liquefaction of vegetables and fruits, some of which are native to your world, which are brought to them for the ability to adapt, some of which are not native to your world. In that sense, there is a very, very light amount of the ingestion of solid material, again in natural raw form. They will not eat anything that you would call cooked or prepared in any other way other than being natural. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Does this help you?
This helps me greatly. It's been a great pleasure talking with you, and I want to give other people an opportunity to have your time.
All right.
Thank you very, very much.
We thank you again for the opportunity for this co-created transmission and interaction. And we will now, at this time, proceed with the idea for this transmission that we will call Breaking the Seals. From time to time, as we have said, we will, a little bit ahead of time, prepare the channel with diagrams that may be germane for the explanations we are about to give. Thus, then, you can perhaps see on what you would call your drawing board one such diagram that is representative of a very particular thing and will function as a very simple illustration of some of the points we are about to make regarding the breaking of the seals. Now, upon your planet, it is being recognized by many individuals that it is time for the opening of informational sources that have been hidden, secret, sealed for a long time as you count time. More and more and more individuals are discovering information hidden, built in to other levels of information, beneath, underneath, the surface information, are beginning to unseal the coded books, the coded secrets, beginning to reveal things that have been waiting for what you call this end of days, this cycle of change, this cycle of transformation. You are now finding in many ancient texts subtext and reams of holographically imprinted information that is revealing a number of different scientific and sociological bits of advice and information and insight. Many things are opening up and revealing themselves to you now. More and more and more, this will go on. This diagram, in general, represents one geometric understanding that some individuals on your planet are beginning to have cognition of, and we will explain this illustration to show what we mean. Now, we have from time to time mentioned the idea of what is called the phi ratio, which you all know of in mathematical terms as a ratio or a proportion that is representative of the natural growth of things, the growth of things in nature. All exhibit these proportions, these golden sacred geometry proportions, as you call them. The phi ratio specifically being 1 to 1.618. Everything in nature, your bodies, plants, anything that grows, anything that evolves, exhibits physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, these cycles, these ratios in the cycles of events, of growth, of position, of timing, of attitude, of proportion, of expression. You will find in music these ratios. You will find again in growing things, in the physical, actual dimensions of things, these ratios. Again, for example, as we have said, as an early illustration, the idea of your hand, your finger, the first joint, if that is 1, the second joint is 1.618 times bigger. If the second joint is 1, the third joint is 1.618 times bigger. This is how nature builds. It is the template, the underlying blueprint of growth and expansion. And you will find it embedded in everything. Now, to illustrate the idea of the revelation of interconnectedness, this diagram, we will begin with a rectangle, what you would call illustration number 1. This will be a golden proportion phi ratio rectangle. The short side will be 1. The long base will be 1.618. For the purposes of this illustration, to give you some fill-in numbers, not that it cannot be any other size, but for the purposes of this illustration, to make it easy for you, if you are writing, if you are calculating, you can consider this rectangle to have a short side of 2.5 of your inches and a base of 4 inches, although more accurately, 4.045 inches. But for now, 4 inches will do. If you will then bisect this rectangle with a line down the center, as you will see in illustration number 2, then draw, as in illustration number 3, a diagonal line from the top to the corner, both directions. You will now have what you will call a triangular or pyramidal form. Do you follow so far? This pyramidal form is exactly the dimensions and proportions of your Great Pyramid at Gizeh, for it is a phi ratio pyramid. Its height relative to its baseline is exactly 1 to 1.618. Now, what you will see in the more complex diagram is this. This is what has been done. This is what has followed from the creation of step number 3. If you will take the baseline of the pyramid and treat it as a diameter of a circle and draw the big circle, you will see that the large circle falls just a little bit short of the apex of the pyramid. Do you see this? All right. Now, if you will then allow yourself to treat the point, the apex of the pyramid, as the center of another circle, one that is only just tangent, that is just touching the larger circle, and draw this smaller circle. Do you see it? All right. Then, You have this circle on top of the large circle with the apex of the pyramid at its center. Then below, you will find that if you take the baseline, the diameter now of the large circle, and make a square down below the bottom half of the large circle, that is again 4 inches, that is a square, 4.045 if you wish to be accurate. And then you will find that you draw another circle down underneath in the center, that is underneath the large circle and tangent to it. Do you see this? All right. Now then, you will understand that here you have a diagram that has a pyramid in it, what you would recognize as the phi ratio pyramid on your planet, that which you call the Great Pyramid at Gizeh, exact in its angles, its base angles of 51 degrees, its apex angle of 78 degrees, a phi ratio pyramid of 1 to 1.618. Based on this then, and in this way having constructed these 3 circles, what you will now understand is the large circle is representative in this scale of the diameter of your own Earth. On top is exactly the diameter of your moon. The circle underneath is exactly the diameter of Mars. Now, look at this relationship. And understand that upon your Earth, and upon your Mars, and upon your moon, all 3 bodies exhibit phi ratio pyramidal structure. They all have pyramids. They are connected in a very interesting way. Now, also, for this is something we will get into at a later time, you will notice that the small circle, now what you understand to be your moon, also has rays radiating top, side, and bottom. This is simply representative of the idea that your sun, your star, is perfectly eclipsed by your moon, which means that the distance that your moon is from the Earth is exactly the correct distance for its diameter to exactly and precisely eclipse your central star, which, as we have said recently, is not an accident. We have talked recently about the idea, and it again is being discovered as the seals are being broken. It is being discovered more and more every day with what you would call more raw data, that your moon, while a natural body unto itself, does not come from your solar system. It has, in a sense, been, as you would say, doctored, engineered, and positioned intentionally around your planet for the purpose of acting as a regulator, a cycle regulator. It was positioned there after what you called the destruction of Atlantis and your last polar shift to function as a balancer, a balancing, regulating, cyclic regulating mechanism to help balance your planet so it would be less likely that such would happen again. We will go into more detail about the history of this at another time. But suffice to say that this particular diagram is representative of the breaking of a seal, the opening of new geometric embedded information in golden sacred geometry proportions, and now many individuals on your planet are beginning to discover, in again, as we have said, some of your ancient texts, that which you would call in the original form, your Hebrew texts, your Sanskrit texts, and so on, coded information that bespeaks of ancient knowledge embedded in these texts for the purpose of being discovered at the time of the end of the cycle so that the seals could be broken and that this information could be revealed, and your people are finding it now. Congratulations. So, look to your literature now and you will see more and more and more and more examples and indications of the breaking of the seals and the revelation of this hidden information encoded in many ancient texts in many ways. And it is the information you need to understand your reality and the information you need that will assist you in gaining a larger, more holographic perspective of who you are and your reality so that you can engineer, so to speak, your reality in the direction you prefer it to be. We thank you at this time for allowing us to discuss the idea of the opening of these gates, these secrets, these seals, and once again, in return for the gift that you are giving our civilization in allowing this communication to take place, I ask at this time, in what way may I and my world be of service to you? You, good day.
Hello, Bashar. While you were talking, I was thinking about something that I just learned this week about a book that came out called the Bible Code.
Yes, this is one such reference. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I guess a lot of researchers are studying the original Torah and coming up with a lot of things that, as I understand, are prophecies.
In a sense, but again, remember, they are not so much prophecies and predictions as they are probabilities.
Mm-hmm.
It is holographic.
Okay.
Many probable realities are there. It gives you an opportunity to decide what you want to do about the energy and where you want to put the focus to allow which particular parallel reality probability to come to pass or not.
Okay.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
This is what is being understood now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There is more than one code in that text. There are scientific codes that individuals are beginning to find as well, not just what you would call predictive probability reality codes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There are actually more than that. You will find them as you go.
Okay. Okay, so I was really interested. I saw this interview with the man who wrote the book, and the interviewer is trying to find other people maybe who were going to speak against him because some of the prophecies were frightening, like a major earthquake. And
the prophecies are not frightening. Your people choose to be frightened by them.
Right.
The prophecies are simply, again, probable reality, shall we say, representations.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is, what will you make of them? It is always the same thing that we have been discussing for a long time. What is your vibrational choice?
Mm-hmm.
And what flow will you go? What probable parallel reality flow will you identify with and bring forth and call forth from the holographic embedded matrix that is represented by that text?
Mm-hmm.
It is a powerful matrix.
Yeah.
And it was created by the matrix.
Okay.
Is this of any help to you?
Yes, it is. Thank you. I was just so happy to see that they couldn't really, people weren't coming up to refute the information. What the researchers were saying was, we have to look into this more before we open it to the public.
You must understand that it is beyond reproach that the code exists.
Mm-hmm.
Your mathematicians and scientists who are aware of this know this. The controversy in your society is whether the information is actually predictive or not.
Uh-huh.
Must come true or not.
Right.
But there is no doubt that the actual code is there. Mathematically, on your planet, this has been proven.
Yes. Okay. Great. Thank you. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the hybrid children also.
Right.
I was just reading the channeled information that Ellie did, and I was so touched by it.
All right.
I was wondering maybe if you could help me
in what way?
Expand into getting in touch with my hybrid children on a more deep level or a more conscious level.
Why? Do you not trust the timing?
Yes, I do trust the timing.
Are you sure? I will give you a moment to think about it.
Okay.
And while you are thinking about it, I will make a suggestion.
Okay.
All you have to do to know that you are in alignment with your timing is simply use your imagination and come up with ways that you think are playful representations of creating what you might determine to be a stronger connection. Your imagination is the key. They will respond to that most strongly.
Okay.
So, if all of a sudden your imagination says, well, I think I will just come up with a birthday card. I will draw and create a birthday card for one or more of my hybrid children, then in that act, in that expression of creativity, you will create your own ritual that will put you in the proper frequency state to realize that you are in stronger contact with them. Use your imagination, for it will work differently for different people. Do you understand?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Does this help clarify the idea of the process?
Yes, very much.
All right. Does that help you then?
Yes, it brings up another question.
Oh, all right. How unusual.
I've been really aware of the name Emma floating around me everywhere.
Emma.
Emma.
Yes.
E-M-M-A.
Yes.
And I've been talking a lot with my boyfriend Jack about having a baby and getting really excited about it. And where he thinks that Emma wouldn't work as a name because his last name is Lee, and it would be funny saying Emma Lee because it sounds like another name. But I just
Why is that funny?
Well, because it makes it into something that I guess it gives it another meaning.
So?
It's not very funny, but...
Perhaps something has been lost in translation.
Well, there's another name, Emily, on our planet. That's one
Yes.
single female name, Emily.
Yes, we understand.
And
so,
then if you
Emily, Emma, Lee.
Right.
So?
Well, we thought it was funny.
Oh, all right. You may laugh if you wish.
But maybe this has to do with a hybrid connection for me.
It does have a hybrid connection, but it is not necessarily representative of a hybrid child.
Okay.
But you must understand that all the children being born on your planet today are not the kind of children you used to have on your planet 300 years ago. They are, in their own way, hybrid. They are, in their own way, not just another generation. They are a new species. And in that sense and in that context, genetically, they are different than the children on your planet used to be. And so in that sense, there is a hybrid connection. Yes. And because they are that way, the children being born on your planet today are more strongly connected to the hybrid counterparts because they are more similar than you might imagine now, genetically, vibrationally, energetically. And so, of course, with any new child, there will always, in some senses, be a hybrid connection because any new child being born is going to come through as more of their true self. And more of anyone's true self is connected to many different levels and dimensions of reality. So there will be less difference between the children of today on your planet and the children of yesteryear than the idea of an extraterrestrial or hybrid being. Less difference between those concepts. You follow?
Yes.
So, proceed however you wish with the concept of your contact with the entity that you understand to be represented by the vibration of Emma. There is more to it than just a name. Explore the vibration itself of Emma. Play with it. Use your imagination. All right?
Okay.
Does
All
that
right.
help you?
That helps a lot. Thank you, Bashar.
You, good day.
Aloha.
And to you, good day.
I learned something from the book. Nothing in this book is true.
But it's exactly how things are.
Yeah, it was on the geometry though, and it was exciting. I didn't realize that the Fibonacci spiral or series was different from the golden mean. I always thought it was the same thing.
It is based roughly on similar principles, but it is a different expression. Yes.
That the golden mean goes...
The golden mean is more of a continuum. The Fibonacci sequence, in some senses, is a discontinuity that crudely represents the continuum, but in a way that you can allow there to be access to certain aspects of the energy represented by the ratios so that it can be put to work, so that it can be put to use, whereas the continuum is unbroken and whole, and in that sense cannot be broken down into parts like the Fibonacci sequence can for application in your dimensional reality.
I enjoyed knowing a little finer point on that regard.
Yes. All right.
I had a dream the other night, and in the dream I woke up and I was scared. I had been abducted.
Yes.
And my brothers, I think my brothers were both there, and that we had all come in like the living room, and we all realized that we had been abducted from wherever we were.
All right,
and there was a bug, as we call it here, a recording device up on the ceiling in plain view.
Yes.
And then I don't remember seeing them, but it was like we found two more, so there was three of those.
All right.
And the thing
a bug apiece.
Yeah. The thing that got me a little bit nervous, it's one of the little buttons I have.
Yes, what about that button?
Is the idea of being abducted by the military.
You're referring to your own species.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right, and so?
Well, that makes me more nervous than being abducted or detained by aliens.
All right, we understand.
And I was wondering if I don't even want to say it.
All right, then don't.
Okay, I'll ask it. Have I ever been abducted by the military?
No comment.
Thank you. Anyway, I actually appreciate that. When I talk
We give back what we get.
when I last week when I was talking to you about the dragon and you and the story and you said which, I thought you meant which story, but I thought later that it was interesting because the dragon's name was Chrysoflax, and I know that's sort of a traditional or archetypal name.
Yes.
Were you asking about the name of the story or the dragon?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, Chrysoflax.
All right.
Did you have anything to say or to share about that name or the vibration or?
Yes. Again, it is representative of the first interface between etheric energy and physical energy, because the idea of anything that is representative of a crystalline vibration is representative of energy in a pure form of initial physical order or manifestation, such as a quartz crystal. It is very simplistic in that sense and representative of the first manifestation of energy into physical material form. In that sense, then, Chrysoflex symbolically represents the ability of the crystal in its initial interface, pure form, simplistic state to also act as a flexible medium or modality for communicating in many different directions at once or between many different dimensions and other dimensions simultaneously. Thus, again, representative of the core energy that the dragon symbolically represents, getting in touch with that core base energy of your true self, and Chrysoflex representative of your ability to interface with reality and bring through information from many different realities in order to engineer this reality or whatever reality you are applying the information to in the way that you desire to be representative of your power, your strength, your truth. Does that make any sense to you symbolically?
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Oh, all right.
And I was fun synchronicity that we just read another book about dragons too, but they were sea dragons. It's just interesting because the dragons had been coming up.
Good. This is why recently we talked about the idea of the etheric fauna, the etheric symbology, and the fact that more of you are beginning to get in touch with your symbolic dragons, which is the fire within of being your true self and expressing it in a grounded and powerful way.
In the second story, they were less of scoundrels, and they actually were responsible for the balance of negative and positive.
Well, being core symbols, they will represent any and all manifestations and any and all variations and combinations of the concept of the utilization of polarity.
Okay, I wanted to share with you, when I was in Hawaii for Violet's birthday, or the one I chose between the two, because it was also Earth Day, and I like the synchronicity of that. I went to a little store and I bought a couple toys that I thought would be fun with her in mind, and then I played with them so she could enjoy that with me.
All right.
And when Poppy's birthday came up, it was.
You can also, especially in your Hawaiian area, when you are there, take the toys and place them out in a remote area where they are unlikely to be found by any other human, and it may be possible then that they can actually be delivered to the children.
Well, that'll be fun. I actually left, it was a streamer, just a little plastic rod with long streamers that you could swing around and make circles or shapes with. For Poppy's birthday, I made her a necklace of bright olive orange beads of that I had, and I liked the idea. So then I made Ruby a necklace too. And well, I guess I should assume that they know that I did that for them.
Yes. Although the orange vibration was a little bit difficult to take, since the orange vibration represents in great degree the idea of the emotional vibration, the emotional energy field. And in that sense, the hybrids, not all of them, are completely familiar with the full emotional energy vibration, and so it was a good challenge for the hybrid child to connect into that orange frequency.
It was even sort of a challenge to make it because I'm not crazy about orange.
You see?
And I didn't have a lot of orange beads, so I had to kind of put together something. I was wondering if you could share Ruby's birthday with me.
No, not at this time.
One last thing.
Yes.
I asked you about my grandpa about 2-3 weeks ago.
Yes.
That he had just passed, and I had a question about it. Did my mom and like the people of his brother that just passed on, were they the people who met him?
Some. There was more. But this is, as you would say, standard policy.
I guess I could assume he's having as much fun, probably more fun there than he was.
Do not judge. It is different. But there is a greater sense of freedom, yes. And a greater sense of self, yes. Does that help you?
I love you.
Thank
you.
What? You. Good day.
Hi, Bashar.
Yes.
I want to talk to you a little bit about Alahio.
Alahio.
Okay.
Yes.
And a few days ago, I sat again in my room.
Yes.
And thought I was going to have a gathering, which I did have a gathering, but the whole feeling changed, and what ultimately happened was everything became extremely sacred.
Yes. Very good.
Around me.
It is, at this time, wise and very beneficial for each of you to allow yourselves to gain a stronger sense of the sacredness.
I just was happening. I felt
Continue.
and within me.
Yes.
And also aware that there is a lot going to be opening up.
Yes.
And I have been, in the last couple of days, rather distracted
Oh, all
and
right.
tired, so I haven't been able to really sit and be quiet.
It is all right.
But can you suggest anything to help me be more open or more receptive?
I will remind you simply of this.
Okay.
You can bring this down to what you would call perhaps a little bit more of a focus for yourself, and this may be of some assistance to you. And that is as follows. Remember, and of course that means recreate or create now, that sensation of sacredness. Focus it in your hands. Your hands are sacred.
Okay.
And therefore, anything they touch is sacred. Anything they do is sacred. Not that all things are not sacred already,
Right.
but you understand what
Right.
we mean.
My attention will be there.
Yes.
Yes.
Your attention will be there.
Right.
In the sacredness of doing and the doing of the sacred. And that is where you need your attention.
Okay.
And that will help you.
Thank you. That will help me immensely. I have a question about the hybrid fathers. Not the hybrid, what?
Are you referring to the idea of the graves
Yes.
as donating
But-
genetic material? Are
No.
you referring to them as the fathers, or are you referring to the idea of hybrids who themselves have become actual fathers?
No, I'm referring to human
Human males who
When-
donate genetic material
Right.
for the purpose of hybridization.
How is that utilized?
Very well, thank you.
Yes. Nothing is wasted, right?
No. In what sense are you asking the question?
Well,
How is it utilized?
okay, when let's say you take eggs, or they
No,
take,
I have not.
the Greys take eggs from
Yes.
the women,
Yes.
and they're fertilized with a male component. Is it from?
Not always. Again, remember that many of the hybridization experiments do not necessarily involve fertilization, but simply the splicing of genetic material. Do you understand?
And then it creates a being?
Yes. In a sense, it could be said to be a type of fertilization, but not in the typical way that you understand this. The idea is that, again, DNA, what you call genetic material, can be gleaned not only from the eggs and the sperm, but also simply from cell samples.
Okay.
And therefore, it can be taken apart, built, put back together in a number of different ways. Sometimes it will be handled in a more typical fashion, and mitosis will be allowed to move under its own natural accord, but sometimes it will not. Sometimes it will literally be built. Atom by atom, molecule by molecule. Do you understand?
Yeah. Okay, so a hybrid child may have several different mothers.
In a sense, this can to some degree occur. When we talk about the idea of hybridization and represent the idea of 50-50, human and extraterrestrial, this is not meant to be taken as a representation of the amount of genetic material. The idea is that, yes, there are even hybrids that actually literally have thousands of donors, because it may be ones that are built molecule by molecule, and it may be literally a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it may literally be thousands of donors to create one child.
Wow.
But the fundamental matrix can sometimes be a majority from one donor. Do you understand?
Yes.
So, let us say, for example, that you might have, say, a 49% or even a 51% human donor of genetic material, but then everything else may be in fractions of percentages.
Can you give me the one for Alaheo?
Alaheo is somewhere between what you would call 57 and 63% human.
And is he still 13 at this moment?
Again, at this moment is a relative term. Let us say there is fluctuation for the purposes of the energy you need to be in touch with of between 11 and 13. That will serve you as a window.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that's all I have right now.
All right.
I lost the other question.
All right. You may look on the floor for it if you wish.
I will find it.
You, good day.
Hi, Bashar.
Good day.
Good day. The dragonfly.
Dragonfly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Last year, sort of materialized as just as an interaction for me as a dragonfly, and he's here again this year.
All right.
And is there any connection to the dragon portion that you're talking
yes,
about?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. And how?
Or you would not have archetypally named it such.
Yeah, the dragonfly.
In this context, it is like a miniature version of that idea that to some degree will allow you a scale that you can handle, that will lure you deeper into the woods, into nature, if you follow it. In that sense, it is like a little dragon saying, follow me, follow me, follow me, follow me to your deepest self.
Yes.
For you will find that the dragonfly will usually lead you into the depths of natural settings, and especially with regard to water, which will allow you to deal with the blending of the emotional component of your core self as well.
Right, yeah, because he usually comes when I'm in the pool.
Yes.
And that was interesting. I was in the pool, and then this one was coming around, and I said, okay, and it's always orange. Last year it was orange.
Emotion, all right.
Okay. And so
and water, and so does a reinforcement of the idea of the emotional vibration, yes.
Right. And then he went round and around, but he didn't land like he normally does. And I said, if this is O, then land, and we'll talk. Well, then he flew away. The next day, I'm going out to the car, and he made the circle around the car, and then he sat. We talked for about 10 minutes. He sat on the aerial of my car.
Yes.
And
better reception.
I love it. Oh, that's great. And then there was another one that came, and so that was the one the day before.
All right. And the color of the second?
I thought it was orange also.
All right.
Yeah, both of them are orange.
All right.
But there's only the one that lands, that's O. And when I was in the pool the other day, he sat very still on some wire in that, and we were talking, and then all of a sudden, I didn't see him fly off or anything, and he just disappeared. But we were still talking. thought that was interesting.
Well, all right.
The other thing, I had asked the children, the hybrid children,
Yes.
I said that I'd like to visit them on their spacecraft in a dream.
Yes.
And so a few nights later, I was with them. It was like...
in an astral state, yes.
Yes.
Not physically, in an astral
Oh,
state.
yeah, no, I know.
Yes.
It was in the dream state or the astral
Well, the
state.
dream state, as you would say, or the dream of memory, can sometimes be a mental reconcoction of an actual physical occurrence, but in this case, it was astral.
Yeah, I felt that. We were teaching, we were interacting and
Yes.
everything. Now, I didn't feel...
You were doing, to some degree, a reading.
Oh, is that what it was? Because we were. I didn't see them as they are. You know, I didn't interlock with them.
How did you see them? How did you perceive them in your memory?
In my memory, it was just a feeling. It wasn't a direct contact, and I felt like we were the same.
Yes.
That there was no real difference. It wasn't like my personality construct here.
This is more how it is in their reality as with ours. You have a sense of your own identity, but you also simultaneously feel that you are the same. But you also simultaneously feel that you are the same.
Ah.
It is a simultaneous occurrence, a simultaneous experience. Not one at the expense of another, but both simultaneously.
Uh-huh. Oh, that was interesting.
This is the combination of the product of the hive mind and the individual identity.
Ah.
You
Yeah.
feel that you are you, and you feel that you are the same
Right.
as them.
Yeah, very definitely.
Yes.
Very definitely.
Yes. This should give you some stronger clue as to how we experience our communication with all of you.
Oh. That same sense, huh?
Yes.
Very good.
I am me. I am you.
Yeah.
We are us. We are you.
Very blending.
Yes.
It's a real blending
Yes.
that I felt.
And also a strong delineation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at the same time.
Same time.
Yeah. I had what about the father, Bashar father identification? Are you a mirror, the future mirror as the father with them, or?
I am one such reflection to some degree. Yes. Although the term father may be a little bit misleading. However, again, I am one such reflection for some of the hybrid children to some degree. Yes.
Okay. Also, Lee Bailey, my newest contact, that's been writing with me.
Yes.
Is he an offshoot Syrian?
No comment at this time.
Okay.
Anything else?
How do the children identify their mothers?
Oh, please.
It's this.
Must you ask?
Well, it was, no, I guess not. It was just the...
How do you know your own hand?
Well, it just seems that they're only percentages and everything when you're getting into that.
Do you not understand that they have acute vibrational senses?
Yeah.
That they simply know and are telepathic?
Okay. Yes.
Does this make sense?
Right. Yeah.
All right, then.
Telepathic with them.
Yes.
Okay, that's it for me.
Thank you. You, and then you. Number 2, do you know who you are? All right. Number 3, do you know who you are? All right. Number 1, good day.
Good day, Bashar. Thank you. I have a few questions to ask.
Yes.
For your help for my physical body, if I may.
We will see what we can do. Proceed.
Thank you. I have been dealing with right shoulder pain.
Right shoulder pain.
Where I have also gone to Western medicine and physical therapy.
Yes.
And have gone all through that. However, I still do not have 100% mobility.
All right. You may, if you wish, to some degree, discuss this with the channel after this communication. There are, from time to time, individuals that have become associated with the channel that you can dialogue with to see if they may be individuals that you feel may be able to help you. You are under no obligation to do this, But in that, certain resources are immediately available in connection with the channel. You may wish to see if you want to take advantage of them.
Most definitely.
All
Thank
right.
you. Would that also apply to right hip pain?
Yes.
Okay. Also, do you have any suggestions for how we humans can deal with osteoporosis as to change that? To do other alternatives or methods to get more bone density?
Yes, and again, you can refer to the same source that we have already been discussing. And you can inquire about this particular individual after these transmissions. Inquire this of the channel.
Okay. Terrific.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Oh, right, thank you. Number 2.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
A couple things. I have had a couple of interesting trips to the dentist
Oh, all right.
recently that I wanted to talk to you about.
How so interesting?
Well, I'm having my mercury amalgam fillings replaced.
Oh, all right.
And
Likewise.
I forget. I don't know.
all right.
Something better, something less toxic.
Oh, all right.
So anyway, the last time I went, or I've been twice, and the
Yes.
first time we did the right side, and the upper one on the top and then one on the bottom. And the upper one was really easy, and then the one on the bottom, the anesthetic wouldn't take.
All right.
It didn't take well enough, and it was really, really painful, and I had a lot of emotion come up
I see.
during this. And then we couldn't finish because he tried to put more anesthetic, and it just
All right.
didn't
What
work.
emotions came up during this particular pressure episode?
Well, I was, at the time, had been processing or integrating a particular past life.
Such as?
A past life that I'd had with John, in which, the real dramatic one that we talked about.
Yes,
I lost my child. And,
All right.
And so as I was driving home,
You hit a nerve.
I hit a big nerve. And as I was driving, I felt like I was being tortured, basically.
Yes.
I wanted to run out of
Yes.
the dentist. Yeah.
Yes.
Basically, that's how I felt, was torture.
All right.
So I
Well, again, it hit a nerve.
Yeah.
That's the point. That's the key.
Right. So in the meantime,
Yes.
I did definitely integrate that past life shortly
If you say
thereafter.
so. All
Yeah.
right.
In terms of just emotionally healing.
All right.
And then I went back a couple days ago to work on the left side.
Yes.
Again, the top teeth were really easy, or 1 or 2 or whatever it was, and then the bottom, the same exact thing happened.
Yes. You may also have simply
finish.
structured some of your neurological anatomy in this fashion.
Right. Meaning
To allow it to be, in that sense, more difficult for anesthetization to take place in the lower jaw. So
Right.
that, in some senses, you would be forced to face certain things.
Well, that's what I was wondering. I just felt like, symbolically what was
Yes.
going on here. And I haven't, with the left
That
side,
is where you have allowed yourself to place sensitive issues.
in those teeth, in those particular teeth, or in my jaw.
In the jaw. Clench, 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 clench. You understand? Build up of unresolved issues. Clench, 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 clench.
Yeah. So,
Relax the jaw. The more you can learn to relax the jaw and have work done specifically manipulating those areas to allow them more muscular and neurological relaxation, the more responsive they will be in this context.
okay. Well, is there any information you can give me in terms of specifically, like the left side, what that might be? Because I haven't figured.
Well, again, it may simply have to do with the idea of integration and what it is that you process and or store in the hemispheres of your brain, but you will allow both sides to be dealt with so that there can ultimately be balance. So you have split it up into both sides so that you will know that when you have dealt with both sides, you have dealt with the whole issue. Otherwise, you would always be wondering, is there anything left? No, now it's right.
So,
Did you understand that? You have taken certain issues and you have split them up into sensitive areas on both sides of your body so that you will know that when you have dealt with the same idea on both sides of your bodies, you will have dealt with the whole issue.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Otherwise, if it was only on one side and not the other, you would always be wondering if you had finished dealing with the issue.
I see.
You would not have a balance and a sense of completion.
Right, I see. So, does it mean that once I have completed this particular issue or whatever it is, that I'll be able to have my teeth finished?
Perhaps, although there might be other issues lying under the surface as well. We will see. But the idea is that if you will take the suggestion, of course, of doing anything that will help you meditatively, emotionally integrate any issue whatsoever, but also actually have some work done, massage, therapeutic work done in your jaw and neck musculature and neurological area, it can be of aid and assistance in helping you learn how to process these things in a different way and bring them out in a different pace without it necessarily having to be triggered in such an immediately and pointedly painful way.
Right. Well, that's basically, I mean, I have been doing a lot of, I guess, work or healing with, different people helping me in terms of doing energetic.
Yes. Have they actually physically started massaging your jaw and neck area?
No.
Thank you.
That's the next day. Right. Okay, and then one other thing.
Yes.
I had a dream last night that I thought I would run by you. Because
all right. As fast as you wish.
I was really excited about it when I woke up.
Yes, why? What is it?
Well, the most important things in the dream were I was at work and a friend of mine who I had a falling out with several years ago.
Falling out.
Yeah, we're not we're not in touch anymore.
Oh, all right.
But I
physiologically.
Yeah, right. And I've had a lot of contact with her in dreams. And
all right.
astral.
Yes, and
well, recently I mailed her a letter just telling her that I loved her and that I would always love her. Physically, I mailed her a letter.
All right.
Yeah, like probably a few weeks ago or a month ago. And so this is the first time I have dreamt about her since then.
All right.
In the dream, well, she showed up. I was at work, and she showed up, and I looked up, and there she was, and I was just really, really, really incredibly happy to see her, as was she to see me.
All right.
And then shortly thereafter, she was saying she was researching some sort of dolphins or whales or something.
Yes.
And I said, oh, I have one. I pulled up my shirt. On the shirt underneath, I had like a dolphin / whale type / seal kind of mammal. It wasn't exactly a dolphin. It was something of the sort. And it just proceeded to come alive out of the shirt. It just jumped out.
Oh, all right.
And I was
jumping for joy.
Yeah, I was completely ecstatic. And then it said it needed water.
Yes.
And so I went and I took it and I put it in this bathtub and was running the water.
Yes.
And I was just really excited. I mean, and I woke up just incredibly excited. Well,
thank you.
Shortly thereafter, this mammal turned into a woman.
Yes.
And I was conversing with this woman, and I was, again, really excited to have made her acquaintance.
Yes.
Her name was Susanna.
Yes.
And she was, I remember what she looked like, and I just remember going, I was just like, who are you? What's going on? And then she said, well, let's see, I've been your mother before, and we were kind of going into like what past lives we'd had together.
All right.
And that's all I remember, but I was curious if you could expand a little bit more who this Susanna was.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
That's who it is.
Oh?
Yes. Oh, Susanna.
Oh, Susanna.
Don't you cry for me. That's who it is. You think I'm being facetious?
No, I don't think you're being facetious at all, which is why I'm confused.
Good. Allow yourself to understand the context of your human song of Oh, Susanna, and you will begin to understand some of the reason why this entity, this guide, and this spirit, and this non-physical friend is willing to be of some assistance to help you lighten things up, to jump for joy, and don't you cry for me. And allow yourself to process that idea.
Okay.
So, sing Oh, Susanna. Not necessarily now.
Right.
All right?
All right.
Does that help you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 3. And a you good day.
I have 3 things I would like to explore with you.
Number 3 has 3 things.
Yes.
All right.
The first
3 times 3.
Yes. The first one is, I don't know when the hybrid program began. Does my mother have hybrid children?
Yes.
How many?
17.
Thank you. She will be delighted.
Will she not be lighted?
She will be lighted, yes. Thank you.
Don't want to take the light away.
Right. And I wanted to ask you about what happened the other night. I have had no interactions that I remember at all, no paralysis field experiences. But I woke up in the middle of this dead sleep, and I looked at my clock, and I saw a gray there.
Yes.
But it was a small face. It was almost like a photograph.
Understood.
Size.
Yes.
And I, with perfect equanimity, just laid back down and went back to sleep and thought, well, that's very interesting, you know?
Yes.
Was that an actual interaction?
Yes.
Or it was.
But you are seeing in the different dimension where different dimensions will sometimes cause distortions in your perceptions regarding size and scale.
Well, the only other time I've seen one was when I saw one within that electrical vortex, and he was the same thing. It was very, very small.
Yes.
For a gray.
This is common as a perception from one dimension to another to see the idea of scale discrepancies, because you have a certain interpretation about what space-time are all about, and space-time interpretations that do not correlate with your understanding will often cause certain kinds of scale discrepancies in your perceptions.
Now, are they able to do interactions without the paralysis field, or did they subdue me sufficiently that I didn't feel it? I can't, it's so strong and unmistakable when it happens.
Yes.
I can't imagine an interaction without it.
There are, in a sense, a variety of techniques, some of them more or less involving what you would call the interdimensional shift field that creates the paralysis. But in this case, in a sense, they simply gave you a suggestion and you followed it. And that was, go to sleep.
I followed it very well. I've never slept
yes.
like that in my life.
You are
great.
A good listener.
Yeah, okay. The other area I wanted to explore was I wanted a little update on Jonathan. What I've done is I got a very strong intuition, finally, to take him off all medication.
All right. And
I feel better about him. I think he has better color. I feel better about his liver.
Yes.
What is interesting to me, and I'm kind of excited about, is that he has broken out in blisters again.
All right.
Now, one of the things that we had discussed is he was on a medication for herpes, a higher form of herpes.
Yes.
In getting off that medication, he's broken out again.
Yes.
Now,
you can treat this homeopathically if you wish.
Yeah. My question was, am I going the right direction?
You can treat this homeopathically if you wish.
Okay.
It can be resolved this way.
You had mentioned once before the thieves' oil. Would that be appropriate again?
To some degree, but in this context, consult what you believe to be an extremely experienced homeopathic practitioner who will understand what is necessary for this particular expression and condition.
Okay, thank you.
In this way, it must rise to the surface first before it can be dealt with and truly cleansed from the system.
Right.
When you use some of the medications that exist on your planet, these things are only suppressed. And when it is stopped being utilized, will always then come back to the surface because they are not truly cleansed from the system.
Right.
The homeopathic vibrational identification resonance techniques can, in many cases, cause or allow for true cleansing. Seek this out. This can be of great assistance at this time.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, I wanted to ask you about me.
What about you?
Well, last week after being with you on the Friday night, I went home, and invariably when I do this, I get a very powerful reaction, so I'm very careful about it. But I called upon you and Sai Baba, and I asked for some real assistance in getting kicked in the butt, basically.
And?
I got it.
All right. Does it hurt when you sit down?
You know what? I can't sit down. It hurts so much.
All right.
This is really interesting. Now, for the first couple of days after that, I had the most powerful, amazing, wondrous energies flowing through me.
Yes.
I was working on my novel. I couldn't do enough every day. I was so excited.
And now?
Now I can't move. Literally.
That does not mean that they have gone away. Watch your definitions. This is the critical time to pay attention that you are not defining a change as ultimately a negative thing. They are simply rearranging themselves so that you can experience them in a different way. You are going through a transition with this. Treat it as part of the path, not an interruption in the path. Watch your definitions now more than ever, or we'll kick you again. Mm-hmm. Harder. Much harder, because we actually didn't kick you as hard as you actually asked to be kicked, so we have a little kick left. So watch your definitions, or it will be actually you that will be kicking yourself. Do you understand?
Right. So that was actually my definition. So that was what was going on, because
things will change. Change is the only constant. Let it change. Accept the change. Go with the change. Find out what the change is by giving it a positive reason for having occurred, so that by having given it a positive meaning, you will be capable of extracting a positive understanding from it. For if you don't give it a positive meaning, you are incapable of having a positive understanding of how it can be used in a constructive way. Remember, you cannot experience a reality you are not the vibration of. So if you do not give it a positive meaning, if you don't stay on that wavelength and accept that there might be a positive way to use the change, it will be impossible for you to perceive how it could be representative of the energy doing something different, yet still no less positive than it was doing before. Just different. Just ebb and flow. Tides rise and fall. It is not always going to be a super highway to the stars. Sometimes you have to take a little slow side trip into the small little country town to fuel up and enjoy the scenery. That is as important a part of the path as being on the super highway to the stars. It's the same journey. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, enjoy all of it.
So this is me readjusting myself.
Gee, I guess so.
The migraines, the back pain.
Again, it is you giving yourself an opportunity to work things out of your system. Yeah. And again, many times, these things will only manifest that way because they are revealing to you that you have placed constrictions upon yourself with your definition of the change. It may seem as if the change has brought these things, but it isn't. In that sense, it is your definition that has brought these things and allows you to experience the change in a particular way. It's just that many of your definitions, as with all of you, are unconscious or subconscious, and so you don't even know they're there until all of a sudden you have the migraine and have the pain that reveals the constriction you have had in your emotional, definitional, mental system all along, and it's an opportunity for you to work this through by relaxing into it so that it will diffuse and expand and become part of the flow. And then you can get, in that sense, back on the superhighway. But not because you have to be there, more importantly, than where you are now. That's the paradox. Remember to use the power of paradox. Being where you are now fully is what will allow you to be elsewhere more quickly, so to speak, euphemistically. Make sense?
Thank you.
Does this help you?
I love you.
Remember
so
that this is just physics. Our unconditional love to you as well.
Thank you.
You and then you. Number 2, do you know who you are? All right. Number 1, good day.
So I have been enjoying exploring a lot of the things you were just discussing.
Yes.
And I've been exploring the concept of remembering who I am.
Oh, all right. Exploring the concept of remembering who I am.
And I remember, things.
Have you been actually remembering who you are?
Yes.
From time to time, at least?
Yes. And,
all right.
And
a little bit different than just exploring the concept of remembering who I am.
I have moments of remembering and moments of exploring.
Thank you.
Okay.
For your honesty.
Yeah. And I'm remembering who I am in regards to what is important to me in this lifetime.
Oh, all right. And how does the real you feel?
The real me feels that...
The answer is, to put it in your colloquial language, pretty darn good.
Well, that's
how the real me feels. Pretty darn good. You understand the context?
I do.
Thank you. Now proceed with whatever other definition you would like to add.
Well, I'm thinking about...
Yes.
When you say, remembering who we are and ourselves. So it's like remembering me, Nan, in this lifetime.
Yes,
and then
Nan.
like the big self, all the lifetimes, right?
That's part of it, yes.
That's part of it, right. And I'm interested in the idea of how much these other parts of my bigger self come into play in this, because we talk about these past lives that we're integrating.
In one context, they don't come in at all. From another point of view, all of them are there 100%. From a third point of view, they mix and match in different percentages according to any particular given moment of how you choose to define yourself. It is all these things. Remember, not this or that, this and that.
So everything goes.
Everything goes.
There's
Everything
like
you can
different...
imagine is happening, because you cannot imagine non-existence.
Uh-huh. Because
yes.
I feel that
yes.
I am somehow, with what I'm going through within the last few months, I'm somehow
yes.
integrating a lifetime where I was not possibly remembering who I was.
Yes.
And it has a lot of opposition to who I am now.
No, well, not really, but in the sense that it might be a very different vibration, yes.
And I feel that my relationship in this lifetime to Adrian had a lot to do with that. It triggered that.
Yes. In that sense, reflectively as a mirror, yes, that is accurately so.
And so I'm intrigued and puzzled.
Intrigued and puzzled.
Yes, very intrigued and puzzled as to what seems to come up to the surface and what I understand about it.
Yes, and?
Well, I feel like I was not the considerate person in that lifetime that I am now.
Oh, well, so what?
Well, so I feel
Is that now different than the way you prefer to be? Do you now prefer to be different than that person?
In the other lifetime.
Yes. Is the answer yes?
Yes.
Then that's it. You have gotten everything you need from that lifetime.
Okay.
You understand what I am saying? Once you understand that that may be a reflection of what you do not want to be, and you understand that, and understand what it is you do want to be compared to that, then that's it. You've created the connection to make a point, a reflection to show you who you are not, and by thus showing yourself who you are no longer, then who it is you more truly are. And that's it. You've used the lifetime in the correct way, unless there's some other specific way in which you wish to experience that regarding that lifetime. But in general, that's it. That's what it's for.
Okay. So because I was thinking about it, and I was realizing that the last two men that had come into my life intimately, both had been abandoned by their fathers and had sort of this issue in their lifetime. And then I had
of course, that's not uncommon on your planet in this day and age.
Right. Very true. But then I, in relation to that, had defined what they had done with me as being abandoned by them.
All right. But remember that that's not actually you in the personality sense, only in the greater soul sense, because that personality is its own distinct, discrete person. It's not you, this person, Nan.
Okay.
You, Nan, were never that person in that life. Because that person was that person.
Right. And so I just have oversoul connections to that.
Yes. Vibrational connections for the purpose of allowing this you, Nan, to define herself more clearly relative to any other perspective of the overall you. Yes.
And so that is sort of the main purpose of me energetically attracting these individuals into my life to experience this.
Yes, it is one of your purposes in doing so, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Does that help you?
Yes, and in one other area I'd like to discuss with you.
Yes.
So as you know, I had what I define as pain in relationship to this person.
Yes.
But I've been feeling really strong and very clear and connected and at peace and accepting the way things are.
Oh, all right.
Woke up this morning feeling
Now again, remember, of course, that accepting the way things are does not necessarily mean that you condone nor prefer things that you know are not of your own truth.
Right.
But you accept that you can use anything that happens to allow yourself to define more clearly who it is you are and what it is you do in fact prefer.
Right, and that's what I feel I've done. I feel like I've been very, I've just dug in deep, and I've done what I could.
Accepting on that level.
Yeah. So I had a great day, was feeling great, and then all of a sudden later in the day, like before I was coming here, I felt all this sadness coming up.
Oh, all right. How exciting.
How exciting. Okay, so what? Feedback on that.
Well, all right, so you feel all the sadness, so own it, so acknowledge it.
Okay.
Get in touch with it. Dive into it.
It's such a bizarre concept because my reality...
A bizarre concept. And, of course, I assume that speaking with an extraterrestrial consciousness through another individual's body is somehow mundane to you.
Not at all.
But getting in touch with your own sadness, that's a bizarre concept.
No, that's not how I meant it, but I see your point.
All things are truly relative, are they not?
That's true. But the thing that I'm wanting to discuss with you is that how we can go from just a state of being that is very grounded, centered, feeling great.
All right, pay attention.
It's like these bubbles coming up.
One more time.
Okay,
for the very first time. When you allow yourself your true state of happiness, then any sadness that may come up is not an interruption in the happiness, but a sadness within the happiness that allows you to explore the sadness so that what you learn from it will add to your understanding that this sadness is occurring within the happiness to allow you to use it in a happy way ultimately.
All right.
So it does not matter that you may feel that there may be remnant situations, so on and so forth, that would allow you to all of a sudden explore sadness, even though you were feeling happy a moment ago. You have to allow yourself to understand that the reason this is coming up is because now from your happiness you know you are strong enough to deal with whatever this is representative of and add it to your happiness ultimately, rather than assuming that something has gone wrong with your happiness and that this is somehow an interruption in it.
Mm-hmm.
That attitude will make all the difference. Even while you are feeling the sadness, you can get into it as an actor because you know in a sense that what you're doing is playing a part and that you're going to learn something from playing this part, that even when you play the sad refrain, you're still making music and that makes you happy. You see the point?
Yeah.
Does that help illustrate the idea a little bit more creatively?
Very creatively, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 2.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I had a dream this week that seemed kind of strange to me, stuck out in my mind.
Yes, and this would be?
Well, I dreamed that 2 of my fingers were cut off.
Which 2? On which hand?
I believe it was the left hand.
Oh, all right.
Second to last finger and the pinky.
Oh, all right.
The second to last finger was at the top of the joint,
Yes.
third.
Now, did it simply appear that way, or did you actually go through the process of seeing them? Or
And I took these pieces of finger and I put them in my mouth to keep them alive.
Oh, all right.
And I went to a hospital.
Yes,
and I asked them to put them back on, I guess.
All right, and?
That they would do that. And they said they weren't allowed to put them back on for adults, only for children.
Yes.
That's the law.
Yes, that's the law. Responsibility for integrating your pieces is up to you. We can't do it for you.
So I remember I looked at my hand and I thought, well, the pinky looks sort of okay. It was about the right length. And the other one was a little short, but
Yes.
I thought, well, it's okay. I guess I can live with it.
Oh, all right. And in learning to live with that, you may find ultimately they may simply regrow. The idea being, again, that if you accept yourself as you are, you will find more opportunity and more capability to change yourself in the direction of your preference and be more representative of a holistic concept. You have to understand the paradox here is that when you may consider that a part of you has been cut off, the idea is to understand that that is only a perspective, that you really are a whole being, even though you may be playing as if you are missing some pieces. Now, the responsibility is up to you to remember that you're not really missing any pieces, even while you might be pretending that you are. No one can do that for you, because they cannot interrupt the game you are playing of pretending that you're missing some pieces.
And even when I'm playing the game,
Yes.
I do know that, but still the game is very real.
Yes, absolutely, because it is a valid experience within creation. And the creation would never invalidate it and not, in that sense, want to play it. Therefore, you are playing that out. And by accepting yourself as whole, as you are, paradoxically, you are capable of then discovering more of the wholeness that you have begun to treat or were treating as cut-off parts. Make sense?
Yeah, it's almost like I need to go to another level with this. 'Cause
Yes.
experiencing
Putting them in your mouth to keep them alive bespeaks of inner communication in order to be in touch with the fact that no parts in any of you are really missing. not empirically.
Why only children get their fingers put back on?
Because they know how to automatically trust that they are whole. And therefore the experience for them is transitory. That is the law. That they use the law. That they know in that sense who they are and haven't forgotten allows them to experience themselves in a number of modalities that they know is not the ultimate truth. Whereas your adults on your planet have gotten caught up in the idea that missing pieces is the ultimate truth of yourself. For example, I'm not saying this about you personally, but for example in general, the idea on your planet of original sin, that you are born bad. No child would ever conceive of such a thing. So in that sense, adults can create the idea that they are born incomplete, born missing something. They are not worthy, not whole in the eyes of creation. A child would never believe that ultimately, even while playing the game. And therefore it's all right for creation to reflect immediately back to them that they are whole and reconnect them. Because they are never really that far into the game of believing that they are not, as adults on your planet often are. And thus, since you have chosen to cross that line of believing that you have parts that are missing, then we cannot interrupt your game. You are only responsible and the only one who can be responsible for remembering that you are whole. But if that's your game, in order to experience becoming whole through the idea of believing that you are missing some parts, so be it, and it is a valid part of the total of creation. And we would never invalidate that. Because that adds to creation. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. And it was tied to the word equity.
Yes. Equity. Equality. Exchange. Equal exchange. And ownership. Ownership. Yes, equity. Ownership. You understand?
Yeah.
Owning who you really are. Owning what you're doing. Owning that you have created the idea that you are in pieces, some of which can be hidden from yourself, some of which can be cut off from yourself as an idea. Owning that will allow you to recollect the parts and reconnect the parts. But sometimes remember, the idea, the experience is not always about reconnecting the parts, but experiencing the separation. That's valid too.
Apparently.
Yes, apparently, because it happens.
Well, it goes back and forth.
That's all you need to validate any experience. Apparently it is valid because it happens.
Yeah.
That's what makes it valid, because it happens. That's all you need for anything to be valid, that it happens. If it happens, it's valid, because nothing that is not valid cannot happen in creation.
So, experiencing extreme polarity.
Yes.
In conjunction with that.
Yes.
Would be expected.
Yes. Congratulations. You have put your finger on it. Does this help you?
Oh, it helps me a lot.
Thank
you.
You, good day.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
This week I was doing some healing therapy with somebody, and she told me to stop coming from the liver and start coming from the heart. I was wondering if you could explain that a little bit.
Many individuals will take upon themselves certain energies that, corporeally speaking, biologically speaking in your species, certain kinds of imbalances and repressions will be ensconced in what you would call the organic liver area. This is simply another way of saying that you need to balance certain things within your body, and the heart, in that sense, being the organ of balance, the organ of unconditionality, so to speak. The idea is that there may be too much focus and too much concentration and repression of energies that will then build up in the liver and create toxicity. This is what is meant. You follow?
Yes.
Does this help you?
Yes.
Anything else?
No. Thank you.
Thank you. One moment. You! Good day. Guys.
Hello, thank you.
Guys, good day.
I have a question about some changes that have been going on in my life the last few years.
Such as?
Dealing with overcoming fears.
Overcoming fears.
Yes.
Transmuting them, transforming them. Yes?
More like running from them, not running from them.
Well, running from them will increase and enlarge them.
Right. And this is turning around and facing them, moving through them.
Yes.
I have had an idea of what is going to happen to me in my coming incarnation, and that has seemed to disappear. And this happened at the suggestion of a conversation with my father when I was telling him this, and he said, well, why don't you just deal with this issue in this life so you don't have to come back into the next one?
Yes.
And it seemed like something clicked, and I started proceeding through a lot of changes.
Yes.
And I just wanted to know if I have dramatically impacted my incarnational timeline, and I am going to skip that next one.
Yes. And it's not a skip, in a sense.
Well,
within this reality domain, this one will be the last one.
So it's just like combining. That's what it feels like
in
to
a
me.
sense, yes. It is skipping a track.
Okay.
Going to another track that represents the willingness to experience a certain kind of completion in this parallel reality as opposed to, in the sense, needing to stretch it out into another particular time track. Yes.
Okay.
This kind of integration is actually now par for the course because this is the transitional and transformational cycle on your planet, and many of you will simply find that you do not need to experience the idea of another physical linear incarnation in the same way.
Okay. And I had a second question.
Yes.
There was a gentleman that I met many years ago who was indicated to me psychically, and then I met him.
Yes.
And even though he has nothing to do with my life, he still keeps in connection very periodically, very infrequently with my consciousness.
All right. Well, then it would perhaps be a little bit misleading to say he has nothing to do with your life.
Physically, he has nothing to do with my life.
All right.
And I wanted to know why he was indicated to me. So far, he has not had anything to do with this physical incarnation. I want to know if he's connected
All right.
to me.
Well, I will ask you this. Does anything different happen when you become aware of this individual? What in your energy changes when you are made aware of this individual from time to time?
It just stops me.
In what sense?
Well, if I'm like driving along the freeway and he is on that freeway, in mid-word of thinking, all of a sudden his name will come into my mind and I will feel his energy as a soft warmth nearby. And I'll look around and there he will be. He won't even be looking at me. He probably wouldn't even recognize me at this point in time, since probably 20 years has passed since I've spoken to him.
And how does this make you feel when this occurs?
I again wonder why this keeps happening.
But how does it make you feel when this occurs?
I'm confused as to why he is...
If you stop trying to figure out why, simply, how does it feel when this occurs? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are you indifferent? How does it feel when this occurs? Never mind why.
Pleasant.
Thank you. Does it do anything else? Does it change your pace, change your tempo? Does it bring you more into the moment? Does it do anything different in you? Does it make you behave differently? Does it turn your attention towards something different altogether?
It just makes me stop and wonder why he keeps intruding on my consciousness. And
what
does
intruding.
this mean?
This is by agreement.
Well, this is the way that it feels to me. It's like...
Why does it feel as an intrusion?
If I've forgotten about him, I've not thought about him in quite a while, then all of a sudden he appears in my consciousness. I again wonder, why is he coming back? Why is he being indicated to me? What does this mean?
Yes, I understand that, but you are attempting to analyze it instead of be in the state itself that comes about when it occurs. The why is the state. In other words, you have made an agreement with this individual for cyclic reconnection from time to time to bring you back into a remembrance of something that you need to integrate in this reality to be more of who you are, to see things in a different way, to change your perspective about something. The encounter is a reminder of that self, of that you, of the ability in that so-called confused state to unlock from preconception and go in a completely new direction. All bets are off, as you say. At that moment, everything goes back to zero. Everything recalibrates to zero so that you can then from that point forward know you are always, 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 always given an opportunity to start from scratch with anything in your life that's important to you, anywhere, anywhen. You have that ability to reset yourself, recalibrate yourself, bring yourself back to zero rest point moment when anything can be defined and you can be anyone you want to be in that moment. That is what is being reflected to you.
Okay.
Do you understand this?
Yes, so the stop point and the noticing is the point then.
Yes.
Okay,
it is reminding you that you always have this. Not that it only can happen at that moment, but that you always have this. It brings you back to yourself. It brings you back to a particular aspect or a particular state of yourself that is representative of the self that can, in that state, whenever you wish to create it, define your reality completely, totally, and utterly, and get the manifestation of that reality at that moment, because that definition will become paramount above and beyond any other definition. It is a recalibration code, a recalibration moment, a moment of pause. Is this who you want to be? Or do you wish to change yourself at this moment? Is this who you want to be? Are you being who you are? Or would you like to rethink who you are? Would you like to be different? Would you like to redefine yourself? That is what this reminds you of the opportunity to do.
Okay, thank you.
Does this help you?
Yes.
Now, you have had strong lives, so to speak, with this person before, but in this life, the lightness of the touch is all that it's needed to bring you back into touch with the greatness of the energy that you have shared in the past with this entity in other lives, that in those lives was representative of certain expressions that you can allow yourself to reclaim now and express in a different way. But in this life, all that's required is a light touch, because the connection has great power. And greatest power requires the lightest touch to make something change.
Okay.
So it is simply a reminder. You have given yourself a key. Yes, it's always there. The connection is always there to always remind me that I can always change, I can always be who I want to be. It doesn't even necessarily mean that you always have to. It is your way of having created an agreement with someone to always constantly remind you that if for some reason you were to really get lost, there would always be this moment to bring you back to zero. Do you understand?
Yes.
So it's in a sense like an anchor, like a safety line, to an energy that represents your ability to always go back to zero and never ultimately really be that lost ever. Do you follow this?
Yes.
It is one of the reasons why you also have created within yourself a relatively pragmatic attitude toward things. And how you can, in many cases, see and express very clearly what you see. Because you have, over the years, always given yourself the opportunity to remind yourself of who you are, and there is less and less and less uncertainty about that, even as there may, from time to time, be some uncertainty about that.
Okay.
This is your clock, ticking to remind you that you will always, no matter what you experience, always come back to the beginning. Does that help you?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. One moment. At this timing, we must extend to each and every one of you our deep appreciation for the allowance of this transmission in this particular way and through this window at this time. As the seals are being broken, remember that they are also breaking within yourselves, so that all that was hidden can be accessed and applied and utilized in the creation of the definition of who you deem you prefer to be. Break the seals and allow the fountains to burst forth of creativity and expressiveness in whatever you deem to be most representative of your highest joy. This is who you are. The vibration of your highest joy is who and what you are. You can forget that if you want, but remember that that's all you're doing. Our unconditional love to each and every one of you. Fond and exciting. Good day.